Right. Expo.
So we're just discussing the World Exposition, and I happened to be at the invite meeting when they came over from Shanghai to Washington. And I thought we were going, and apparently we're not. So we wanted to shine some light on this topic, Barry.
Well, what the United States government did was to reserve a site of 6,000 square meters on the Expo grounds, and a letter went from the State Department, as I understand it, to the Expo authorities acknowledging that that was our intent. However, that has not been confirmed by contract.
And it's coming up. What's the date of the event?
The Expo is due to open in April or May of 2010.
Okay. And it's a huge global affair, kind of like the Olympics in scale, especially because it's in Shanghai, and they're tying the two together. It's a massive opportunity for business.
Well, the difference between the Olympics, which has a 2-week run in Beijing in 2008, and the Expo in 2010 is the Expo is on for 6 months, and while the Olympics are telecast all over the world, the Expo probably won't have that kind of coverage, but it will probably entertain close to 50 million people. I think that's the number, somewhere in there, in 6 months. An unheard of amount of people. But that's the way it is.
So, Sidney, how does this affect the business for people here in the United States if we're not at the Expo?
If we're not at the Expo, I think it'll be a tragedy, because that big blank space will be talked about not just by the Chinese government, but by the ordinary man on the street in China. When we go over there to do our work, we're going to be asked all over the place, how come the United States didn't have a place in the Expo? Are we too poor? Are we too weak? Is it a show of distrust in China? And the funny thing is that in our Congress, there are many different views. But one thing on which I think there's unanimity, every member of Congress thinks that we need to increase our exports to China to reduce the trade balance. The Chinese government wants to increase our exports to China. They have too much foreign exchange. They have too big a pile of dollars. So since everybody is for this, and since the Expo is a key to increasing exports, doesn't make sense not to have it.
And relationships are everything in doing business in China, and it's like almost we're losing face if we're not.
Really.
Well, Tim, I don't think there's anybody who is even remotely interested in World Expositions who wouldn't agree completely with what Sidney has just said. And in fact, the problem is that we don't have a mechanism in this country any longer to participate on an official basis.
So part of the history of this was we used to be participating, and then some law got changed?
Well, two things happened
changed.
in 1992. We withdrew as a member of the BIE, the Bureau International des Expositions, which governs, like the IOC governs the rules of the Olympics. This organization creates and governs and manages the rules of the exposition field. So we withdrew for reasons I don't know. At the same time, we passed a law that forbade the federal government from using taxpayer money to support a U.S. pavilion at any exposition, domestically or foreign, into the future without regard to what the exposition is. So the only mechanism left is for the federal government to go out and seek private entities to create this pavilion. So, in fact, the State Department did issue an RFP, a publicly issued request for proposal in the National Register, seeking an organization or a team or a group of people who would be willing to design, produce, manage, and finance the anticipated $100 million U.S. participation on the site that they have reserved. And that's asking an awful lot to begin with.
Yeah, not the time frame is getting compressed here.
Well, of course it is. Imagine we are sitting here in May of 2007, and we're barely 3 years away from this event opening, And we have no money, and there is not yet an organization authorized to even attempt this feat.
So, Barry, why isn't this in the media? I mean, if this is such a huge part of relationship development, not on just the Chinese side, but worldwide side, why isn't this a big issue?
I cannot answer that, Tim. I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know. There's just no way to respond to that.
so you're pulling together a syndicate of people and just trying to get awareness and make sure this atrocity of non-representation.
Well, I mean, beyond my own interest in this, having designed U.S. pavilions in the past and designing exposition pavilions for many years, I personally am offended by the notion of there being not the best possible pavilion in Shanghai in 2010, representing, as Sidney says, the commercial interests of this country, as well as its philosophical and personal interests. I mean, we are among the family of nations in this globe, and we too need to be acknowledged and recognized as real people. You know?
And America needs a little bit of a PR campaign now as well.
Oh, I would say we are in need of something like that. Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
So what is needed, and what, for people out there viewing, how can people help? What resources do you need? Who do you need to reach, and how can people get involved?
Well, until the State Department determines whom they want to invest this responsibility with, there's nothing anybody can do. Once that has happened, then there are a number of ways that corporations and individuals can become a part of this adventure. But until that time, and nothing has come forth yet from Washington to us, so I don't know what's going on.
Who makes the decision in Washington?
I don't know. This is an opaque process, which is not the norm. U.S. has always operated on a very transparent basis, but that's not going on now.
Because what's interesting is we never met until we were out on the lawn today here at Fire. I was at the event in Seattle, which is the first stop with the delegation from Shanghai. They showed us this amazing video, which we're trying to get a copy of, and a personal invitation. And I thought that this was a massive opportunity for people in the Pac Rim, East Coast, anywhere to go, students to go. And so I was shocked to kind of come in and learn more about the situation.
Well, Tim, if we had been operating on a traditional basis, as this country always did, and as almost all the major nations of the world do today, and had an exposition authority of some sort, we would have responded positively to the invitation. Funds would have been made available to go through the process of developing the U.S. presence, and then corporations would be invited and states would be invited to support the cost of it. That's the norm. As it is, it did not happen that way. I don't know what's going on. Why people aren't discussing it, I don't know. I think they're unaware of this.
So do people write their senator? Do you how do we raise the bar of awareness, as well as create an action plan, so if a decision does come down, there's a number of companies that are already lined up to sponsor the effort?
Well, I do think that individuals or organizations who have an interest ought to lobby their representatives in Washington and demand to know how the U.S. Pavilion is being organized, how it's going to be supported, and what it's going to be. But until, again, as I say, some evidence of development comes out of Washington, I can't tell anybody what to do.
How do people get a hold of you?
I have a business. My practice is in Los Angeles and Marina del Rey. Barry Howard Limited is the name of my company, and I'm on the web at barryhowardlimited.com. Anybody can see my credentials. You're welcome to review them and chop them up into pieces.